Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back for another week of our Entrepreneurship One on One webinar. Each and every Monday, we go live at 5 p.m., where we drop amazing knowledge and gems and tools and strategies that you can use to be successful in your business, whether you're thinking about a business, you're starting a business, or you're in the business process. This is a great place and platform for you to connect and learn as you grow. The work that we do is never finished. We never are finished learning everything that we need to know when it comes to business. So being able to come on platforms like this and to hear insights from other people that is doing amazing things is super insightful and super helpful. I want to give a special shout out and a warm thank you to everyone who has purchased my book so far. Our entrepreneurship book is now live. Please go onto the website, serenitynailpolish.com. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll be able to make your purchase today and download the book. What's nice is immediate access. You can download it and read it while you're on the train. Or whenever you have a quiet moment during your day. I know with a lot of ebooks that I've purchased before in the past, having those quiet moments during travel time is a great opportunity to tap in and to gain that knowledge and to embark on a journey. Today, we have a special guest with us, Raven Martin. Raven Martin is a transformative leader dedicated to equipping individuals for personal and collective growth through therapy, writing, and public speaking. As a licensed graduate professional counselor and also a Master of Divinity candidate at Covenant Seminary, Raven uniquely combines expertise in human behavior with theological insight to foster healing, personal, and spiritual development. Drawing from her tenure as a speechwriter and legislative correspondent in the United States Congress, Raven offers a distinctive ability to connect communication, policy, and psychology in ways that inspire lasting change in every space she enters. Both professionally and personally, she's the author of two published works entitled Lessons from My 20s, a reflection on responsibilities, relationships, and reality, and it's not political. The case for mass divestment from pop culture. Each book delves uniquely into conscientious cultural and psychological issues, sparking necessary difficult conversations in effort to invoke meaningful change in the reader and the world. A thought leader and seasoned workshop host, Raven provides a wealth of knowledge, experience, and expertise necessary to help diverse audience thrive. Her mission is clear: empower people to know God so they may know themselves and more accurately contribute to the world. Please help me welcome Raven Martin.
Hello.
Hi, Raven.
So good to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And so I know I gave a welcome and introduced your bio, but of course the people are here and would love to hear from you. So we're gonna jump straight into it. Can you tell us a
Yeah,
little bit
definitely.
about yourself in your own words, what you do?
Yeah. Yeah. So once I realized as I was listening to you read the bio, I'm like, oh, girl, you could have shortened it even more. I always like condense it depending upon the arena that I'm in. So this was a good lesson. But yeah, so hi guys, I'm Raven again. Jasmine, it's so good to be with you and to even meet you virtually. I'm so excited to talk to you. And also even to hear about your brand too, just FYI. But nevertheless, I am, like I said, Raven, a therapist. I'm an author. I'm a public speaker and a workshop host. I essentially have turned my first book, which was Lessons from My 20s, into a workshop called the Lessons Workshop. And I do it with high school students, mostly juniors and seniors, and some young adults in general too. So like typically it's suited for about 16 to 29-ish, if you will, maybe 27, depending upon, the maturity level and the space in life that that particular 20 something is in. Nevertheless, so that's kind of one faction of it. But then other than that, I've written these books and I do therapy, as I've already stated, and I'm just kind of all over the place a lot. Oh, I also have a podcast called What's on the Agenda podcast with my friend and roommate from college. And we talk all things Black women and the spiritually, economically, sociologically, all of the things that impact Black women's health and well-being and just general life. So that's kind of a synopsis of all that I am working on or actively do in my business, if you will, now.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Wow. It's so great to hear that you have a space where you have a podcast for women to connect in that area, and being a therapist, and you do so many things. What would you say inspired you to start your business or pursue your creative entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Ironically, I wish it was like some beautiful, profound story. The truth is, though, I was on my way to law school after I finished undergrad, and I was like so destined, or I felt like I was destined, and I was so determined to be an attorney. But then, truthfully, the Lord, even before I recognized it was the Lord steered me in a different direction and made me realize inadvertently that that path of becoming an attorney was more about me and self accolade and building myself up and feeling more like important and accomplished more than it was actually geared towards what my purpose and my calling was. And again, before I knew that that was the Lord, things had happened that basically disrupted my journey to law school, and I found myself in school, going to school to be a therapist. And now that I look back, it's the best decision I've ever made. And even when I'm in the middle of sessions, sometimes I almost get emotional and have to contain myself because I'm like, oh, when you pursue purpose and when you pursue calling,
Mhm.
and pursue a relationship with God first, those sorts of things actually like that's when you only can really come into true alignment about what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, I wish I had some deeper story, but that is really the truth. I didn't, it was kind of by accident, if you will. So
Listen, the best stories sometimes come out of um by accident stories, so to speak.
yeah.
Um
Hmm.
I am the owner of Serenity Nail Polish alongside with my daughter. We have a vegan nail polish company, and the idea
Yes.
birthed from Serenity herself, who during the pandemic time, we took a love and a joy for polishing our nails.
Wow.
And we decided to come with the idea to create our own polish. And so ever since then, we got started with our business, and it's been going well. And so I recently put
Amazing.
out a book, entrepreneurs, because I wanted to help other entrepreneurs who have so many questions. I'm
Yeah.
very much big into giving back information and knowledge. If I have it, I'm here to give it. And I don't
Mhm.
believe that we should hold on to information that can just be so easily
Absolutely.
shared and accessible. So that's a little bit about me and
Yeah,
what
yeah.
inspired me to start our business, and that's part of the legacy. And so, with that being said, when you think back to it, right, was there a
Mhm.
specific moment or experience that made you realize you wanted to build something on your own?
Yeah, so well, sort of. So the way that therapy works, once you're like, so you go through 4 years of undergrad, three, depending upon your journey, but about 3 years of grad school, and then after grad school, you essentially have to work for somebody to get your independent licensure. And then once you're independently licensed, then you get to decide whether or not you essentially open your own practice or just kind of work as a contractor and like kind of in tandem with other businesses while still acting as an independent business in and of yourself. And so that's technically the phase that I'm in right now because I just got licensed. And so right now I started my own LLC and essentially just contract with other businesses as an independent business and conduct therapy that way. And the reason I did, well, I don't want to on your questions or anything, but that's kind of my journey into budding into entrepreneurship. So technically, I'm not fully independent as far as I function completely as an independent business, but in partnership though with another company so that I can do therapy. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that makes perfect sense. Because I was actually going to ask you about that. Like, I know, you wrote a book,
Mm-hmm.
or you said, what's the age
Yep.
range again?
Well, so it's called Lessons from My 20s. The book is, I mean, it can generally be read by everyone. Like I've had older people read it and are like, this changed my life. But typically I wrote it for young adults, either budding into adulthood or actively in young adulthood and are kind of wrestling and struggling with all that it takes to do it effectively. So
Yeah.
yeah, but the workshop that I host and that I made from the book, that's typically for about 16 to 27-ish.
Okay, okay. So your target audience is that age range from 16 to 29, depending on whether it's the book or the workshop. And is that the same with
Mhm.
the therapy sessions as well? Like, who is your target audience in each of those
Yeah.
categories, and how were you able to identify who they would be?
Honestly, the so there is no target audience as of yet. I just see a general clientele, right? People who come in saying that they have specific struggles with different things, psychologically, and mentally. However, the longer I've done it and the more I've gotten into my niche, or should I say, I've found my niche, the longer I've done therapy. And the clientele that I seem to do the best with, not that I am relegated to any, I can see people, but the one that I find myself doing the best with, and even being more, that I enjoy the most, I'll say it that way, are couples, families and couples. I really have a passion, and I'll even go as far as to say a knack for families and helping families to navigate the different dynamics of what it is to be a family and try and be a healthy family, especially with all the components, social components happening right now, making it more hard to do that. So families and marriages and couples are like, that's my heart. But again, I am qualified and capable to see a wide range of people. But yeah.
That's so awesome to hear. And how does your sessions work in terms of like workshops and having people sign up? Are there certain requirements? Are you taking new clients? How does that process work and look like for you?
Oh my gosh, yes, I am absolutely taking new clients right now. It's interesting because typically, like, so fall, if therapists, if you're watching, you know this, fall and winter times are like when it's like you're like the busiest you ever are. And then summertime, it's like this lull because everybody's on vacation and kicking it and outside, which I get it. So yeah, as of right now, I am absolutely taking clients again. It's and this is a good time because it typically is not like this. So just FYI, you can just go to ravenrenee.com to sign up for therapy, or also because I heard you say about the workshops, same place. If you're interested in the workshop or interested in the books and kind of all that they include and what we do in the workshops, you can shoot me an email on my website as well, and then I'll send you kind of like a PowerPoint and an introduction to what it looks like and how it works. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great because there's a lot of people on live right now that are watching, and sometimes we are in search of a therapist or a really great book or even a workshop. And so just
Yeah.
having these tools and being able to share it out is a great resource. What would you say, like
Yeah,
when we think
definitely.
about strategy and positioning ourselves, right? What would you say differentiates your brand or product from others that's in your niche?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a couple of things. First, that I'm actually in this space, and it's not. Yeah, I'm actually educated, like formally and socially. I know right now with mental health being such a major center of topic, which I am happy about that. Let's push that even the more, right? But I know because it's such a constant, or we've grown in our acumen and our public understanding about mental health and its importance and all of that, which is a good thing. But because that is the case, and because we're evolving in that space, oftentimes there are a lot of people coming into the conversation and offering perspective, which again, not bad at all, because mental health is something that we all experience and have to be thoughtful about. However, there with that added component of the education and the actual skilled training and continued education courses, and I've worked in this space for upwards of 10 years now, even beyond my license time or the time that I've been licensed. And so, yeah, that educational component really gives me an added edge, I think. And then when it comes to like my books and my workshops, again, that education piece, along with the long tenure that I have in this field, I think really, really makes me uniquely qualified to do the things that I do, say the things that I say, because I'm not just kind of talking from passion, but I'm talking from things, acumen that I've gained in like institutions of education. And also, I think I'm called to it too. And so you merge those two things, or you marry those components, schooling with something that I believe that the Lord birthed inside of me. I think you get some good stuff, if I could say that humbly. Obviously, this is about me, right? But yeah. So I think those are the two things that I could probably list more, but those are the two things that I'm most proud of, and I'm most confident in saying this is why I'm qualified to do this.
I love that. Listen, you are qualified. And I was having this conversation with someone last week that sometimes we count ourselves out of the picture or out of the equation before God has
Yeah,
said otherwise, right? And
so
you're qualified and you're called. And
mhm.
those are the positive things that you noted. But I know like in entrepreneurship, it has its challenges that it presents. What would you say was like one of your hardest lessons that you learned so far in entrepreneurship?
Ooh, girl, where we can we start? Ugh, if you don't work, you don't eat. That's a fact. Like seriously, I think it's not even that I didn't like, obviously I think I knew that, but there is no way to, especially if you've worked in just like an established setting for forever, there's just no way to really make your mind prepare for, oh shoot, you won't, there won't be money coming in unless you are actively doing something right now. A good example of that was in July, I believe. I took about 2.5 weeks off. One, because I had to do some like outside work stuff that didn't necessarily pay, but it was going to pay in the long term. So I was like, I need to take this week. And then the second week I went on vacation. I went to Japan, and and so anyway, that was just 2 weeks essentially, that like, so when once payment came and like all the, it was time to pay bills the next month and all that, I'm like, all right. Like, it really was just I'm like, yeah, that's right. And again, not that I didn't know it, but nothing can prepare you for it until you're in that specific setting and you're like, baby, that money, there is no more money unless you do some, overtime. It ain't, you know what I mean? Everything is on you. And that it's a, it's a like a beautiful burden, because you have to believe in yourself, and it forces you to gain confidence, but burden in that it's heavy, and we can't lie about that. So I think that would be mine.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being, very transparent and talking about the hardest lessons, because when we log on social media and we um get involved, we just see all of the good things, right? The bright spots of entrepreneurship, but then we don't talk necessarily about like the hardest lessons that we've learned.
Yeah.
And to be able to talk about hard lessons, which can what be seen as failure depending on who you speak to,
Yeah.
um, it doesn't
Just,
always come out.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it's what do you do afterward that
Yeah.
that matters, right? And
hmm
so if you were given advice to someone just starting out in what you're doing now, what advice would you give to them?
If that were a therapist, or sorry, well, do you want it to be more entrepreneur specific or therapist specific? I could give either one. You tell
It
me.
can be both. It can be both, yes.
Okay. If therapist specific, use your schooling, but just do not just rely on your schooling, because ultimately you are talking to real people with real problems that are really coming to you with their most vulnerable stuff. And so treat them like a friend, obviously with boundaries and with understanding of all of your code of ethics, but you don't have to be so rigid. Talk to people like you care and you're concerned, because that is what drew you to this field. So don't lose that in your fear and anxiety about sounding professional. So that would be my first thing to therapist. And then entrepreneurially, I think believe in yourself, honestly. And that means in the good and the high and the low times, because what I think happens oftentimes is that when things are good and it's so believable and plausible that, and I'll just use the space of therapy, I guess, since this is the one that I know, it's so plausible to be like, oh yeah, I'm good. Cause that's what happened. I left my job. I'm like, it's time. I can do this. I got my license finally. Let me just go and, partner with somebody and they'll do the logistical part. And I got plenty of clientele. I've built that up over this time. But then there will come times where that's just not the case. But that doesn't mean that now your skills have all gone out the window. That doesn't mean that you're no longer good. You do need to learn to pivot and recalibrate and reorient your mind around whatever can get the job done, get you the necessary money, all of that. But that doesn't mean that you are a failure, right? And so long as you spend too much time ruminating on whether or not you're a failure, or whether or not you're good at this or should be doing this, that'll take away the time that you need to be actually pouring into your craft and reorienting so that you can get to the space that you need to be in. So, yeah.
Oof. I heard you mention time, time, time. And time is a very real thing. Balance is a very real thing. And I wanted to ask you, how do you manage your time between your creative work, business tasks, personal life, and even emotionally as a therapist? I you probably get a lot in terms of like how do you manage the emotional piece on your end? So how do you balance all of those things?
Girl. um, I'm still actively learning it. I don't, this is going to sound like such a cliche therapist answer, but I don't even really believe in balance. I think what I more so believe in, not that I think it's a bad concept, but I think what I more so believe in is you spend the necessary time on what's necessary in the moment, right? And we just toggle between our responsibilities. There just will be days where some things require more. And so that means there is imbalance. There's only me giving more in that area, in that arena, especially as an entrepreneur. I think this depends on the area we're talking about, but since we're talking about in business, the truth is, man, listen, some days this just needs all of my attention. And so I have to just let other things fall to the wayside, not completely fail, but I have to just prioritize what's important day to day, right? Because every day there's a new thing. So that's how I make myself like be more sane and not feel so much guilt around where I have to toggle and what's getting more attention that day. But then with regard to just my personal self, the Lord, I can't make it sound prettier than that. It's God. I work out a lot because that just helps bring me clarity. And I think it gets those serotonin, endorphins pumping, to kind of keep me in a clear headspace to get all of it done. To-do lists. I'm so much not a type A person at all, but that changed my life. So God, to-do lists, working out, and yeah, prayer, like a genuine relationship with God and a genuine understanding of why I'm doing this and why this all matters. Because when you let stress bog you down too much, then you make it about you, and this ain't about me. Even if it's stressful, it's still not about me, and so I have to relinquish that even, and the only place that it can go is something higher than myself. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I really enjoyed the fact that you said that you prioritize what, from what I'm hearing, sounds like based on need.
Yes.
Like where am I needed, or what is needed from me, what is required from me at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to tap into that as opposed to becoming like robotic. And it's great
Mhm.
to stick to a schedule and to a plan. Definitely, like always remember the plan. But there are some times in entrepreneurship, in business, in life, where you are going to have to pivot based on
Yep.
the need at the time.
Yep.
And that's okay. That's
Yep.
okay. Are there any like systems or tools that you use to help you stay organized during your process or keep a level of efficiency going?
Yeah, yeah. So nothing official as far as like external things, but here's what I offer to myself, and I even offer it to clients. So if this can be helpful to somebody, trust me, I'm not talking nothing I don't know. I'm telling you, when I am in a position where I'm like, Raven, you need to get this done, or you need to focus directly on this thing because you have X amount of days to get this done, or whatever. I use this method called the 25-5. And so essentially what it is you work for 25 minutes, you break for 5 minutes. And this is especially good for people who like feel like they have the ADHD oriented brain where it's like, oh shoot, I need and can't seem to orient their mind to a task. 25, 5. So work for 25 minutes, break for 5. Work for 25 minutes, break for 5. Work for 25 minutes, break for 45. And that essentially gives you an hour and a half, almost roughly, of just uninterrupted work while also penciling in some of your break times for your brain to kind of get that little stimulation that it needs, right? And the way that you hold yourself accountable to it is you set a timer on your phone or somewhere so that you can keep track with those stanzas of time. And it'll be difficult at first, but the reason why it's good to do it in that rigid way is because you're teaching your subconscious and even your nervous system to this is what we're accountable to in this block of time, right? So seeing the numbers kind of helps your brain to orient itself to it. And for me, that works because like I said, my brain does get scattered. And it also like it teaches me accountability when my brain feels like I'm incapable of being accountable to myself or being accountable to that task. So that's one that I do that works for me.
So I'm first of all, I'm taking that idea. Thank you for sharing it with
Please,
me.
please do. Yeah.
My brain also works the same way. I
Mhm.
will set out to do a task, but then I have like 50 million other things on my mind
I
that
get
could
it.
be going on. Sometimes it can affect my sleep. Like it's almost like I can't rest until certain
Yep.
things are like off my checklist or my to-do list. And then I literally have to
Yeah.
just stop myself.
Yep.
Um, so I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. Please do.
Thank you
Please
for sharing
do.
that
Please.
strategy.
Yes.
And when I went on your social media page, so for those of you that are not following, you're gonna type in Ray, RAYE underscore Raina. Am I saying that right?
Renee.
Or
Yeah, my
Rena?
mama, she spelled it
Renee.
weird.
RENA.
Mhm.
Check out the social media page. The marketing and branding on this page, love it. So I want to know.
Oh,
What
yeah.
marketing channels have been the most effective for you? Has it been Instagram, email, word of mouth? And how do you build engagement and loyalty with your audience?
That is a good question, and I'm still kind of fleshing it out. I've gotten a little better over time, but honestly, yeah, I think Instagram has been the most effective, and then secondly, it would probably be YouTube because I do more long form content. Because obviously, I'm a talker, if you can't imagine, and so I'm more of a long form engager. So I typically draw in people that don't mind sitting and being thoughtful with something and wrestling and thought and all of that. So Instagram probably would be the first, and then YouTube. And what was the second half of that question? I'm sorry.
Yes, and the second half of the question was, how do you build engagement and loyalty with
Yeah.
your audience?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if we're talking about social media, and just like, developing that presence, the thing that's worked for me is like investing in it, right? So like I've paid for different mechanisms. That's actually how I got connected to you guys, or to Delano rather. But yeah, I've paid for different mechanisms, and I've paid for different classes to learn more. And also I've just yeah, so that's one part. And then secondly, when you're chronically online, I think it's so appropriate to not just be chronically on there, just doom scrolling, but actually pay attention to what stands out to you, what works for people that typically follow the things that you follow or the stuff that you're generally interested in. Go and see what those people are doing as well that seem to be successful in it. And so I guess if I had to summarize, I've just remained a student. And
Mm.
like I said, I've kind of turned my chronically onlineness into something that could benefit me. And what I have found was that I typically draw in people that are more interested in long form content. So I make sure that my long form content still is captivating and still is mindful of the fact that our attention spans are just shorter nowadays. So even in the long form, what are the ways that you can make your long form content still captivating, still able to stimulate, and all of that while also still being rather long? Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
even when I go on your social media page, one thing that I really enjoy is you have an algorithm and a mix of content. And so how do you I see pictures and reels, right? So do you have a brand story or message that you try to communicate through your visuals or content? Because I think sometimes like, even entrepreneurs, you start getting into space where I'm looking for content, but then it
Mm-hmm.
just becomes any content and it stares away from the message or your brand story, so to speak.
Yeah.
So how do you try to basically have that brand story and communicate through your visuals and content?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think for me, like I said, I'm still fleshing this out. I would never try and purport to be like some expert in this, but what has worked for me, and I feel like the way that I can stay true to myself in this and have tried to do is stay in the vein and in the lane of helping people to improve their quality of life or their perspective about life and faith, right? And obviously that gets a little murky because life is kind of a broad thing, but that's what my job is as a therapist. So I'm okay with giving myself that level of um, like variety or that large of a gradient, because the way what I even call myself in some of my videos, like how I've monikered myself, is thought leader, therapist, theologian, right? So it's like I have thoughts about various sociological things. I'm obviously a therapist by trade, and then theologian because I'm in seminary right now, actively getting my MDiv to be qualified and licensed as a actual theologian. And so a lot of my thoughts all kind of center around that spectrum, but it's all still oriented to people's life, their quality of life, and how they view life. And like I said, God and faith, kind of a big umbrella, but still correlated directly to the person and the quality of person that is either engaging with my video or I'm seeing in therapy or, yeah.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. It's
Mhm.
like you have a vision for what I'm gonna call myself, and then
Yeah,
you produce content based on the message and the
precisely.
wording of what you want your viewer or the consumer to
Yeah,
get out of it. And so I
yeah,
think that's a great point when it comes to creating content. And do you map it out like on a calendar? How do you go about just knowing like um, when to post and things of that nature?
yeah, yeah. No, I don't. Now, see, that's what I mean with, especially with Instagram. I pull back just a little, but actually, let me pull back actually because I'm negating my podcast actually. So we've been really building that up, and we've seen a ton of growth because we actually do have a calendar and we actually do follow like regiment. We post every week, and we have genuinely been seeing a just seeing and implementing how Instagram can work if you work it and if you have the patience with it. And so even our page is like explicitly, y'all should check it out. It's called What's on the Agenda podcast on Instagram. But like my co-host, she actually does all of our branding and whatnot on social media, but we collaborate with it. Like I edit the videos and she essentially does our branding and posting throughout the week. But yeah, that's scheduled and it is themed and it's super pretty. Like each post, they're obviously about different topics each week, but she's themed them really beautifully. So yeah, I guess over there, yeah, we do targeted posting like that, and it does, and I've seen it work like a ton. But you do have to have patience, though. That's the other piece we've learned and are learning. It takes patience because essentially, at first, we were doing like some sponsored ads, and that was bringing in the people. But now we're just getting that genuine engagement, and now it's to where the bulk of our followers or people who like engage with our posts are not followers. So we're finally seeing the algorithm work in our favor once you work it. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. And you brought up patience, right? And that talks a lot to personal and both mindset.
Yes,
When
definitely.
you with the field of work that you're in, right? Who do you turn to for like mentorship, advice, or support?
Yeah. So I actively have a mentor. Yeah, I have my mentor. She was one of my college professors, and now she's like my whole heart. So yeah, she's an older woman. I tell young women that all the time, specifically young women, but this applies to everybody. Get you somebody older, man. I mean that's at least for me, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you're accustomed to being your own boss. You're accustomed to kind of not dismissing people, but kind of silencing the noise and everybody have a thought and perspective because ultimately like you, Jasmine, I'm sure you know, right? Like you tunnel vision when you're an entrepreneur, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to turn that off and just be a student and especially to somebody else and to just be, to be poured into and loved on and all of the things. And so find you somebody that loves you authentically for you, for not anything you contribute to them, for not
Mhm.
anything you're giving, but just sees you as valuable regardless of what you contribute to the world, but just because you're alive and you're breathing. And she helped me to see that and learn that. And she's my safe space to just be myself and not have to sound smart or be pretty or do none of the things, just be.
Mhm.
And I think everybody needs and deserves that. Preferably,
Yeah.
I'd say somebody older, but whoever you got, do what you got.
Yes, yes. I believe that mentorship is extremely important.
Yep.
It's very important to have a mentor. Like if you don't have one, is sometimes people ask like, well, if I don't have one, where do I find one? And I think just through genuine connections and relationship building
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
people, it'll happen on its own organically.
Yeah.
Um, and so when it comes to like uncertainty, pressure, burnout, how do you handle those types of things? And like what
Yeah.
habits or routines have you used to help you stay disciplined and productive?
Yeah. That's so good. Um, Habits and things that I've developed to help me to stay in it is definitely exercise. I cannot stress that enough. Exercise is just so important. And it don't have when people think exercise, everybody thinks, oh, you got to be a runner or some, bodybuilder. I just mean 30 minutes a day of moving your body in some capacity. Don't underestimate the power of a walk because again,
Yes.
those endorphins, it literally helps create clarity in your brain. So nobody ever said they felt worse off after working out. Just want to leave it there. But so definitely exercise. And then as far as like discipline goes, if I'm being honest, I'll say it this way. Discipline for me comes from convictions. And what I mean by convictions is let's just use my business. I know where I want to be in X amount of years. And I know the work that it'll require in order for me to get to that place. And so I had to establish what my why is. Why do I want to get to that place and like what it requires and why do I want to get to that place? And once I established my why, then it don't matter how I feel because my why is what drives me, not my feelings, right? And so my discipline came from that conviction that I had to establish. I think so often when we lose the discipline and lose the motivation, it's because we don't really like we have it, but we don't really have it down while we're doing it. Sometimes we do stuff just because we want to be impressive and look good, which I get all of that. We all fall in that. We doing things just because sometimes, but when you really have it in your heart, a basic plain sentence, I get up and go to work every day because I want to be the best seamstress in the world or whatever, right? Make it applicable to wherever you stand. Okay, I want to be the best seamstress in the world, and that'll require X, Y, and Z. Well, that's my motivation for the day. It's not like, oh, my body feels and my heart head, it's about the conviction, So discipline and conviction kind of work in tandem to me, but I always have to bring that one up because I think sometimes we lose sight of, and we like discipline can be fleeting. And so I'm like, no, what's the conviction that gets you going, I hope that
Yes.
makes, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely having that level of like discipline through and through, right? And not just picking and choosing when we have the discipline that
Yep.
we need is
Yep.
super important.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about vision and future. Where do
Okay.
you see your business in 5 years, and what are some of your growth goals?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good.
Oh,
5 years.
also, sorry,
Uh-huh.
not to
No, you
interrupt. I am Ray Robinson, Chrissy, Coach Shine on Lakeisha, Paris, Minaj Beauty, and Blessed One is following us right now. They're watching us live. We just want to say thank you for joining us. And Coach Shine on Lakeisha said, all of the GOATs in sports still have coaches and mentors today.
period.
How true is that?
Period. That's a fact. That is true. Yes. Um, you said, wait, I'm sorry. Now I was listening to that.
where, where do you see your business in 5 years, and what are
Yes.
your growth?
5 years, I want to be completely independent. I want to have my own practice complete rather than just partnering with other practices. I just want to have my own. And I want to exclusively be seeing, well, I'm almost scared to say it, but I think I want to be exclusively seeing young adults, marriages and relationships, and families. I just kind of want to really just be taken in. Like I want to be, and I've been even taking continued education classes and all that to just be super skilled, if you will, in that specific area. So that's with regard to the therapy. And then as far as just my branding, that kind of is in partnership with that. Definitely want to be teaching. I kind of see myself being a professor somewhere, and but mostly teaching, writing books, and speaking. That's really it, and doing therapy. So it's basically an expansion of everything right now. I'm really burgeoning into the public speaking piece now, but yeah, talking, writing books, and doing therapy. That's it.
Listen, you just listed a bunch of things. You said that's it. But I love it, right? In terms of the workshops, the books, and the works that you do. Now, with thinking about that, are there any collaborations you want to pursue, or any new markets or product lines that you've had in mind, that you think you want to go forward with?
That's a good question, Jasmine. See, that's you. I don't know. I mean, no, I actually I need to give more thought to that. I ain't even gonna. I would try and come up with something cute, but no. Now I am working on a new book right now, but it's not even nowhere near. I don't even have a name or nothing. I'm just literally writing right now. So that's always like the only thing that's on my mind. But I'm gonna have to think on that. Maybe we'll circle back for a revisit of this. But yeah, not right now.
Okay, okay. Well, how do you stay innovated or fresh? Like, what
Mhm.
keeps you inspired? Because you're writing a new book, so I'm like, the inspiration is still coming. So, what
Yeah,
would you say keeps you like inspired?
being a student, being a
Yeah.
student. I am a student of life, and I don't think anybody should stop. And you know what? Honestly, what keeps me inspired is I guess this is part of being a student. I read a lot and I love to read. So I love it, but also I recognize that that's the only thing, especially when you have such a technical, like I'm in such a technical position and technical role, you need to stay abreast of new developments and new things that are happening so that you can continually provide services that are up to date and help people with their problems right now and not the way that you perceived them or learned about them several years ago. So I read a lot. I remain a student, and I remain curious about what's happening in the world. And if it's one thing I've learned, the world will never stop giving you content and perspective and thoughts to have about things, or yeah, things to have thoughts about. So I just stay a student.
Very, 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 very important. We are lifelong learners. I'm an educator as well, and I truly believe that even as a teacher,
Mhm.
as an educator, like I'm never done learning. And so it's important to always have that mindset of like the work that you do is continuous, and there's always some room to grow and to learn. Now, I need you to tell everybody, first of all, where they can follow you, how they can, when or where or how they can access the podcast, the books, the workshops. We want it all. Go ahead and tell the people, Raven.
Mhm. Yes. So I mean, like that, my Instagram page is Ray Renee, Ray underscore Renee, RAYE underscore RENA. But also if you want to just connect with me, well, I mean, I guess you connect with me there, but if you want like booking and whether there be the workshop, therapy, group therapy, all of the like, I get a full list of my services on my website. But ravenrenee.com is where you can kind of find and connect with me professionally. And then for our podcast, it's What's on the Agenda Pod on all platforms. And my YouTube is Raven Renee. Our YouTube is What's on the Agenda Pod. Yeah, and then as far as my books and all that, you can get all that on my site if you're ever interested. So that's where you can find me and all of the things.
Chrissy said, I can see her being a congresswoman. Is that true? Is there something that you didn't reveal to us?
I used to say that all the time. I was really into, obviously, I worked in politics for years too, but I'll never say never. I'll say that. I'll never say never. I need to have a baby and all that first before I do all that, but I'll never say never though.
Okay. Yeah, because I see speechwriter, a
Hmm.
legislative correspondent. Listen, you didn't come to play with them. If you are not following Raven Martin, okay? I posted in the chat. Please make sure that you're following her, you're connecting with her. And Raven, if there is anything that you did not get a chance to share today, this is the time and the space to do so because we want to connect with you. I
Yeah,
know that I would love to stay connected with you.
please. Yeah.
Um, yes, so now is the time and the space.
Yeah. No pressure. No. Honestly,
I love that.
um, uh, Jesus loves you, and I know that that message can sometimes feel divisive, and especially in the culture that we have right now, everything feels like you want to shy away from that sort of a narrative because it contradicts our secular way of life and secular way of doing things, and it feels like it's almost anti-intellectual to say something like that, but it's not true. And I think Jesus loves you, and that is the only space, true, authentic space, where you can be empowered to be your whole, full, authentic, best self. There is no purpose outside of the purpose maker and purpose giver. So that would be my closing message.
Yay! See, that was the perfect closing message. Once again, if you are on live right now, we thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, give it up for Raven Martin. She did a phenomenal job coming on here, speaking her journey, her truth, letting us know how we can access her books, her workshop, and of course, if you need to stay connected with her as well, definitely make sure you send her a DM or reach out to her via her email address, which was shared previously. Also, make sure that you check out serenitynailpolish.com and purchase a copy of our book today. Those of you that come on weekly watching my live, what you waiting for? Get the book. This is Entrepreneurship 101. We will see you guys back here next Monday. Don't forget to also follow Mastering Our Business for all of your business needs, asks, wants, hearts, desires. We'll see you back on next Monday. And until then, have a blessed week, everybody. Peace.